Hey guys, it's the dude Starite, and well, I guess I do movie reviews now. Guys, you already know what the deal is. In this video, I'm going to be giving my personal review on the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 film. And I gotta say, you know, I don't need to tell y'all this, I am a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I've been a fan ever since the game first came out. And I gotta say, seeing the movies adapted to film, oh man, normally that's the part where I like just re-record that whole thing, but I'm gonna keep it in just because I love you guys. You know, we can all laugh together. Listen, seeing those games adapted into film is one of the most surreal moments of my life, you know, and I gotta say, I do love these movies with all my heart. However, they are, just because they give the fans so much joy and so much happiness to finally see something they love adapted to film, doesn't exempt them from any form of criticism. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because even though I love this movie to death, I have my views on it, and I just want to talk about it with the community that I'm a part of. But before I start giving my thoughts on this movie, guys, let me give you this disclaimer while I'm ahead. This will not be spoiler free. I will be getting into spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen the movie, save this video and come back and watch it later, okay? So with that out the way, without further ado, let's get into this video and allow me to share my thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Starting this video off, I want to go over the very first act of this film. Now, I really think that this movie's opening was genuinely the greatest possible opening they could have gone with. This movie starts off by rectifying an error with the first film. Now, the first film's mistake was that they didn't show enough of William Afton. For a villain, you're supposed to build him up, show why he's such a threat, you know, and I don't think the first movie did that enough. And with the second movie starting off like this, I think it's a very, very strong start. I really like it, because not only do they show off the villain actually doing what everyone's saying the villain did, but it also went out of their way to retell the origin of Charlotte Emily from the games. This movie told us a lot of things, including the fact that there was another Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location before the one we saw in the first film. I think the movie's opening not only showed us, like I said, this movie's opening showed us so much stuff and did everything perfectly, all the way down to the origin of a very major character in the franchise. They didn't just show us through a minigame and called it a day, they went out of their way to show us the entire sequence of events, all the way down to exactly how Charlotte ended up possessing the puppet later down the line. As if the opening of this movie wasn't solid enough, wow, seeing these characters develop in the first act of this film was really a beautiful sight to behold. Michael was genuinely appreciating Abby as a sister. You know, they're like I said, what I like about this part of the movie is that it's literally picking up from where the last movie left off, all the way down to character development. Mike is appreciating Abby as a sister. Abby is appreciating Mike as a brother. You know, they realize that they are all they have left in terms of the family. We don't talk about Aunt Jane. We don't forget Aunt Jane. But, you know, even Vanessa is, wow, I gotta say, Vanessa's trauma was very well portrayed, you know, as if the trauma that William inflicted on her as a little girl wasn't bad enough. You know, what William ended up doing at the very end of the first film, she was even more traumatized. Even though Vanessa healed by this point in time, and, you know, she's no longer in the hospital, she's fine, she's even going back to working out, she's still mentally damaged in a lot of ways. William left his mark on her in a way, and I think that's really how they portrayed it was beautiful. Like, I'm sorry, the scenes where William was popping up and he was like, you know, faster, like, beautiful. Matthew Lillard killed it. Like, this is what I'm talking about. They're really, like, I love that they're actually showing more William Afton. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is the villain. This is the guy. You know, I know William Afton's my favorite, that's why I'm gassing him up, but this part of the movie was genuinely done very well. I like this. I like this a lot. And Vanessa's genuinely trying to move past it. She's using every chance she has to dream about it as a way to genuinely push through it. They're taking what Mike had to go through in the first film and apply it to Vanessa. But moving on, so remember that one scene before Mike went on that date with Vanessa where Abby was really like, she was genuinely asking like, when can we go see our friends again? When can I go see my friends again? And you know, this scene is so heartwarming because Mike realized he messed up when he said, you know, why don't you go talk to real kids, you know? And then Abby, the way Abby said, those were real kids. That really hit me. So like, oh man, this part of the movie really like just melted me, man. Like, holy frick. In my personal opinion, I think the first act of this film ends when the Spectral Scoopers, an in-universe team of paranormal investigators who investigate haunted places or whatnot. Yeah, so their next place that they wanted to stop by was Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the very first one from 1982. And they got permission from the security guard himself. He goes by Michael. And so, you know, from the beginning, you can see that he's a very fishy character. You know, he seems a little bit mischievous, untrustworthy, and he also wears purple. Keep this in mind for later. Michael ends up giving them the classic tour, and he allows them to spread out and go explore the entire pizzeria to get as much footage as they want. But little to their knowledge, this is a death trap that Mike was setting up. You see, guys, one of the prime functions of the marionette is that the marionette, at least in the movies universe, has the ability to control all of the toy animatronics remotely, including Mangle. And so when the music box was broken, or no, not broken, turned off by the blonde girl, I forgot her name, this woke up Charlotte, and Charlotte ended up activating the animatronics, killing all of the Spectral Scoopers inside the location. Michael, knowing exactly what the hell is going on, goes under that little clock, goes under that little space where the puppet resides to see what's going on, and he sees that the music box has indeed been turned off, and that the blonde girl was getting actively possessed by Charlotte. Michael barely escapes out of there with his life, and that part was so funny to me because he dipped. He did not waste any time, man. That was so funny. But yes, he says, "Welcome back, Charlotte," which implies that he did this on purpose with unleashing Charlotte for reasons that I will get into later in this video. Now, I know I talked about this when I was trying to talk about Vanessa's development in the first part of the movie, but I'm gonna bring this up because this is literally what happens next in the film. So, you know, they obviously go over how Vanessa's trying to get over her trauma with William, and you know, William is popping up. William is always at the very corner of her eye. She can never truly escape him. He has done not irreparable, but great damage to her mental state, and he always resides in there one way or another. He always comes back, whether it be through means of reanimation or trauma. In this case, trauma. We do get a Circus Baby cameo in the nightmare sequence featured in this part of the film, and I gotta say that, holy frick, man, what are we doing? Firstly, I love this cameo. I love it. This made me go nuts in the film, in the theater, but it's like, wow, what is this trying to tell us? What is this trying to tell us? Oh man, I was hyped for the cameo when I first saw it, but seeing the cameo after watching the film for the first time, I'm like, they better make a Sister Location spinoff because this is confusing me. Yeah, I know, right? The FNAF fan is saying that the story's confusing me. I know, very ironic, right? But still. Anyway, that confused me. But moving on, guys, this is okay. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. The middle part of this movie, the middle act of this movie, is poorly written in a lot of areas. I think this part of the movie that I'm going to be talking about is pretty much where everyone gets their complaints from, including mine. So remember the fast talker that, you know, Abby got from the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location that, you know, they went to in the first movie? So yeah, when Abby's trying to sleep on a stormy night, the fast talker calls her name, and you know, he's Abby. And, you know, Abby picks it up, and you know, Abby talks to it naturally, and the fast talker says, "Yes, it is me, Abby. I am Chica. You know, come find us. Come find your friends. Reunite with us." And she says, "Where are you?" And she's like, you know, the fast talker's like, "I will show you the way." Okay, so Abby ends up... The fast talker guides Abby to the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location from 1982. And this part of the film bothers me because... Well, okay, let me talk about this because this part is actually sweet. So, Abby reunites with Chica, and you know, toy Chica, and I think this part is really sweet because it's like, wow, oh my goodness, I already told you guys how much I love the dynamic between Abby and the animatronics from the first movie, so I really like this reunion. It feels rewarded. I loved it. But you know, so now that I told you guys how they reunited, guys, that's not Chica. That's not Chica, and that's the part that bothers me. So this is why I don't like this part of the film. It's because it kind of like just forces things to happen, you know? What they did is that, firstly, okay, questions. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys this. I watched this movie 3 times. Like, I'm genuinely trying to figure out what I'm not seeing here. So, you're telling me Abby gets a fast talker from an entirely different Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, and somehow Charlotte knows that she magically knows who Abby is, and she magically knows that Abby has a fast talker, and she magically knows that Abby has a close relationship with Chica. How does that work? You see, I don't like this because they forced the plot to progress by magically coming up with a reason for Abby to go to a whole different Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. What they should have done is that, since clearly the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location from 1982 is around the same area as the one from the first movie, why didn't they have it so that Abby ends up going to the first... She tries to go back to Freddy's, but she ends up going to the wrong one, and she thinks she's reuniting with Chica, but she's actually reuniting with a whole different version of Chica, this version of Chica being controlled by Charlotte Emily. So it's like Charlotte in this moment's like, oh, this kid thinks I'm that Chica. I might as well use this to manipulate her for reasons unknown. So it's like, why didn't they just do that instead of just forcing Charlotte to know of Abby's existence and to know that she has a fast talker? I don't know. That's why this part of the film bothers me. They forced the plot to progress. Like, there are other ways you could have had Abby show up to the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. This part bothered me a lot. But anyway, we're gonna continue moving forward. Vanessa ends up finding out that Abby went back to, you know, the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, and she tries to bring it up to Mike, saying that, hey, Mike, Abby's talking about, you know, details that only the, you know, she's talking about details of a location that only she knows about, the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. And that's when Mike goes like, hey, no, forget about that. Firstly, I'm trying to move on with my life, and secondly, why didn't you tell me that there were other victims? And you know, I'm like, okay, Vanessa's character is starting to show its cracks here, because I'm like, you would think that after the first film, Vanessa would end up being more honest and upfront with Mike, saying like, you know, and okay, like, technically, it's Vanessa's business. Is Vanessa's business whether she tells, you know, because like William killing the children is something that young Vanessa obviously knew about, and I could see why that would be a part of her trauma, knowing that her father's causing harm to other children as small as her. So, but you know, like, I really think that, at least by this point in time, I'm surprised that she hasn't told Mike about all the other stuff William did, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can see why Mike was a little upset here, but I think I'm more on Vanessa's side because Vanessa's going through it, and Mike ends up saying something that upsets Vanessa as well, where he says he's trying to fix her as if she's like messed up in the head. But you know, like, she's not messed up in the head, but she definitely has some screws loose because of what her father put her through. So, you know, this is where they end up separating. After separating from Mike, Vanessa goes back to the 1982 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location to confront Charlotte because she has a suspicion that Charlotte has been set free. They get into a little scuffle, and Charlotte ends up overpowering Vanessa, and she kidnaps her. After Vanessa gets kidnapped, the scene cuts back to Abby and her little science fair project. Yeah, from the beginning of the movie, they were literally setting up how Abby had a, you know, robotics science fair competition coming up, and you know, she was trying to make a little prototype Chica kind of thing. But you know, when she met Toy Chica in the first Freddy's location, that Chica ended up helping her make the little Chica mini figurine. I thought that was really cute, and excuse me, yeah, it can move its arms and everything. It was very awesome. But you know, when she brought it to the science fair, you know, we all know this. The science fair teacher the science teacher, the robotics teacher, is a douchebag. So he ends up breaking her little figurine that she put some time and effort into, and Abby ends up getting upset, and she ends up going back to the original Freddy's to talk to Chica and let her know that, you know, hey, my teacher broke my thing. Can you help me out? But you know, we'll get back to Abby in a second. But you know, I want to talk about Mike, because Mike, you know, while Abby is, you know, attending the science fair project, the science competition, Mike goes to call. Actually, he calls the mysterious number he found on that flyer from the location of the first film, and he ends up meeting with the guy who posted the flyer. We end up finding out that this was Henry. Yeah. Oh my gosh, let me tell you guys something. Henry was done so well. This scene hit me in the freaking feels, man. This scene hit me in the feels, dog, because Skeet Ulrich, man, listen, I never watched the first Scream movie, man, but you are a great actor. How he portrayed Henry was so good. It was so freaking good. Like, the way he was talking about, the grief, like, Henry's character, as he's portrayed in the games, he is a grief-stricken character. He regrets the way he went about things. He wished things could have been different. He wishes that he took a better approach to what William, you know, to not only how he was, like, treating his daughter, but to also how, you know, he was completely unaware of what William was doing. Like, the way he, you know what, let me just play a decent part of the scene. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. Like, you could see the pain in his eyes, the way he's like, I wish I wasn't the best father. I was so consumed by my own work, and the devil was right in front of me. William took all of my work. And it's like, brother, oh my goodness. Like, that whole scene was just so well done. Even though the middle part of this film is so weak, I think where everything sticks out, you know, the part that sticks out to me the most is Henry. Henry was, at least they got Henry right. And I really love this part. I know I went out of sequence there, but I really want to talk about Henry for a moment, because that scene crushed my soul, dog. Like, parts of this movie really hit me in the feels. So, you know, I know I went out of sequence. Sorry, I apologize, but I want to get back to Abby, because technically what happened with Abby ends up happening before Mike goes back to talk to Henry for the first time. So, Abby, after Abby's project got messed up by her stupid robotics teacher, she goes to Toy Chica and says, hey, my project was broken. My teacher, Mr. What was his name? Mr. Berg? Yeah, Mr. Berg broke my project. And, you know, Chica's like, don't worry, I'll be your project. And, you know, so, you know, Abby's happy. But the thing is, Abby, you know, Toy Chica, Charlie is like, hey, listen, we're gonna need you for something real quick. So what happens is that she takes her to the security office where the control terminal is, and there's this thing called a perimeter lock. It pretty much prevents the animatronics from leaving the building, and if they do leave the building, their power will be drained momentarily. So, you know, Vanessa implemented this so that none of the animatronics could ever leave in the event that Charlotte is somehow set freed from her slumber. With Vanessa in Charlotte's grasp, Charlotte ends up using Abby as, you know, a hostage. You know, hey, listen, Vanessa, I'm gonna crush this kid's skull if you don't tell me the code so I can disable this perimeter lock. And, you know, of course, you know what ends up happening. You know, she gives the code, the perimeter lock is disabled, and now the animatronics can roam outside the location fully charged up. Now we are in the final part of this film, where I think, in my opinion, this is where the film, in my opinion, the weakest part of the movie. This is the weakest part of the movie. Either this part, I think, evenly matched in terms of, well, yeah, I think this part of the movie is the weakest part for me. And I'll tell you exactly why. The movie cuts back to Mike going to the first Freddy's location to, you know, to save Vanessa, because Vanessa got kidnapped and tied up, you know, if you guys remember. And, you know, when freeing her from her, you know, her captivity, you know, he ends up finding out that, wow, Vanessa, this is another part of this entire bullcrap that's been happening to me and Abby that you kept away from us. And it's like, oh my goodness, like, this is why this part of the film is the weakest for me. It's like, it really shows how Vanessa has had no development at all. It's like, the first part of the movie, you would think from the first part of the movie, Vanessa's genuinely trying to get over her crap, you know what I mean? She's trying to get over it. Like, there's even a scene where she literally overcomes William and literally shoots him, you know? Like, she went from a scared child in that nightmare sequence to the strongest version of herself and overpowered William's, you know, hold over her. That was good. Like, they could have like, Vanessa's character could only go up from there, but somehow she went down. She's still keeping stuff from Mike. She didn't learn anything from the first film. She's still dishonest. She's still untrustworthy. It's like, did we learn nothing? Like, Mike had his development. Abby's having her development. She was, you know, well, Abby's really more stuck than anything, but even Abby had more development than frickin' Vanessa. Because it's like, why would you took 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. That's what I feel like Vanessa's character is by this point in the movie. Vanessa, you're still hiding stuff. You didn't think, with all this going on, you didn't think to tell Mike, hey, listen, Mike, there is a threat that I'm containing, and listen, I just wanted to let you know that your sister might be in danger, because it's like, I feel like she waited too long to tell him. I feel like she waited way too long to tell him. I mean, like, Mike was hesitant to get back into things, but that was before things got bad. Like, Vanessa, at her own volition, went back to the first Freddy's location to take on Charlotte herself, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like, and Mike ended up finding out about Charlotte anyway, but it's like, the fact that Mike had to find out through Henry and not Vanessa, which really shows that Vanessa has had no development in terms of actually being a good friend to Mike. Mike has every reason to feel how he feels about her. So yeah, this scene shows us that through the security terminal, they can shut down the wireless connection between, you know, Charlotte, you know, the puppet, and the animatronics for good. Like, they can turn the perimeter lock back on, and the animatronics can finally begin to lose power. So while Mike stays in the security office to find out a way to shut off the wireless connection between the puppet and the toy animatronics, Vanessa goes out to prevent anyone from being hurt by said animatronics. But here's the thing, though. When Charlotte, the puppet, catches onto this plan, she ends up activating the withered animatronics. Now, oh my goodness, the withered animatronics. Man, they look great. I think their designs are top-notch. But let me tell you, man, they were so wasted. Like, how did you somehow make the most tragic versions of the original animatronics in the series goons, just straight goons? Like, you know, like the withered animatronics in the games are just, you know, they tell a very tragic story. Like, the withered animatronics represent the current mental state of the children trapped inside of them, you know? Like, it's just like, looking at them, you can tell they've been through a lot. Even though you know there are children inside of there, their physical state basically speak the same language. And it's like, when that's the way they make you feel in the games, you can't get that in the movie, because in the movie they're just goons. Basically, the withered animatronics in the games are like that. In the movies, in the FNAF 2 movie, the withered animatronics are basically, hey, this is Charlotte, code red. Withered animatronics, rough them up, do my dirty work. You know, that's pretty much what it is. Like, they have no substance. They aren't actual characters. They're just, listen, I'm talking about what Vanessa and Michael are going through, but let me tell you, another reason why I think this part of the film is the weakest is because the toy animatronics are just breaking into adults' houses to murder them. I know it sounds like an oversimplification the way I said it, but that's literally what it is. Yeah, the part of this, the driving plot point of this part of the film is the toy animatronics are trying to kill adults, because since the adults ignored Charlotte at the very beginning of the movie, you know, back in 1982, before she died, when she tried to tell them that, hey guys, there's a bunny kidnapping children, and they were like, hey, the adults are talking, shh, be quiet, the adults are talking, you know, yeah, Charlotte blames the adults and not the person that stabbed her 4 times in the back. The very reason why she had to tell adults anything to begin with, I don't know. You see, I like the way they adapted her death, but man, her character motivation is way off. Wow, oh my goodness. Like, the thing about Charlotte's character is that despite being a vengeful spirit, the courageous and the nurturing part of her character, who she was as a person, lives on even when she possesses the puppet. Because when she possessed the puppet, she literally took care of the other dead children as her own. So it's like they left that out in the movie. They just made her evil spirit, kill adults. I don't like that. They murdered her character. Like, they made the origin was amazing. Like I told you, the opening of this movie was fire, but man, they got her character motivation so wrong. Emma Tammy, I love you. I love you, Emma Tammy, Scott, I love you guys, but man, this is like, that dialogue was like Darman writing. All adults are the same, and oh my gosh, I can't. Oh man, I can't. I'm not digging this. I'm not digging this, dude. Oh man. Yeah, so the toy animatronics are being controlled wirelessly by the puppet, as you guys know. It's just yeah, this isn't good, man. This isn't good. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, the toy animatronics end up getting shut down after Mike successfully turns off the wireless connection between the puppet and all the toy animatronics, including the Wizards. Yeah, Mike clutched up in this scene. I think this is pretty cool. After severing the wireless connection between Charlotte and all the animatronics, Michael looks on the monitor to find out that there's still one animatronic moving around, and it's Charlotte, the puppet. And it's in this scene that we realize that the puppet basically pulled a lefty and stuffed its own body inside of Toy Chica so that it can move around, and still wirelessly control the other animatronics. After the puppet breaks out, it jump scares Abby, and she basically does what she did at the beginning of the film and fully possesses Abby. Vanessa ends up getting into the mix, and of course they get into a little squabble themselves, but right as Vanessa's getting overpowered, Mike comes in clutch with the music box and puts Charlotte straight to sleep. We're thinking, okay, plot's over, the villain's dead, the villain's gone, we finally found a way to put Charlotte back to sleep. No. So this is where Michael Afton reveals himself, and he reactivates the animatronics because they are now under his control. And yeah, he reveals himself as Michael Afton. Yeah, he pulls the whole "it was me all along" story where he talks about that. He talks about the fact that he started to he basically because at the beginning of the film he set Charlotte free. And Charlotte ends up doing what she's doing. He was basically going to use Fast as a way to kill a lot of people around the local area. So basically, that he said this will be the perfect cover-up. This is how we're going to blend in. So he was going to use the toy animatronics as a means of causing a mass killing. So yeah, he said he wanted to continue his father's legacy, and he figured that this would be the best way to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but it's like. Personally, I think Michael's reveal here was kind of weak. I'm not gonna lie to you. I only think it's weak because Michael. Okay, so I think Michael Afton as a villain. I don't think there's anything wrong with him, continuing his father's legacy. I think that's pretty cool because Michael in the games, he obeyed his father to a certain degree, but he never killed anyone. Well, outside of his brother. But I don't know. I love this take on Michael, but the thing is, if you're gonna make him a villain, can you guys make him a villain that we, can anticipate? A villain that we can actually take seriously? Because they made the same mistake with Michael Afton. The mistake they made with Michael Afton in this movie is the same mistake they made with William in the last one, where they showed the character, they showed the villain, they showed the main villain in the first few minutes of the film as a whole different dude, as an alias, or as a character we don't fully know yet. And then at the very end of the film, they magically pop up and they actually do something. That's why we didn't really enjoy William's presence in the first movie. It's because he is the big bad. He is the big bad. He is the main driving force of the entire plot. He's the reason why the entirety of FNAF happens. And the first movie didn't show us anything of that. Like, they didn't show him killing the children. They didn't show what he did. Like, he doesn't even show up until the very end of the movie. And the first time we do see him, he's in an alias. So then we go to the second film, and it's like Michael Afton shows up at the beginning of the film as well. He gets a whole bunch of kids killed. He reveals himself as Michael. He says, "Call me Michael, I'm a security guard." And then he doesn't show up until the very end of the film. He says, "Hey, I'm Michael Afton. I'm Elizabeth's brother." No, Elizabeth. I'm Vanessa's brother that she didn't tell you about. Yeah, so it's like, oh man. Okay, y'all made the same mistake twice, but that's okay. I still love him. This Mike is great. I like him. I like Mike as a villain. I think this is pretty cool. As much as I wanted to see a live-action version of Michael's story, they pretty much dumped a lot of Michael Afton's character into Mike Schmidt anyway. So it's like, okay, you might as well do something different with him, but could y'all have done this a little better? You know what I mean? So, after Elizabeth rejects his offer, after Vanessa rejects his offer and goes with Mike, Of course, Michael is about to, send the toy animatronics to kill all of them. And of course, this is where the infamous "We Are FNAF" ending happens, where all the animatronics from the first film show up to get rid of the toy animatronics that are being controlled by Michael Afton. And yeah, I totally forgot to go over this part actually. Michael actually went back to the location from the first movie to call upon the dead children who possessed those animatronics there for help because they were getting overpowered. Charlotte was still moving around, going rampant, possessing Abby, and Michael and his friends needed the firepower to fight back, and of course that's why he went back to that location to call upon the souls. So this part of the movie really had me at the edge of my seat because I'm like, wow, are they actually still there? I thought after William got spring-locked, they moved on. I was trying to go off of the games, right? Because when William got spring-locked in the games, the souls moved on, you know what I mean? I mean, the only souls that really lingered were Charlotte and Cassidy, but other than that, the majority of the children moved on, but I guess not, because when they showed up at the end of the movie to take care of the toy animatronics, I guess whatever call Mike made, they heard it. After the toy animatronics get dealt with, Michael tries to desperately escape, and he gets knocked out by Jeremiah, and he just lays there, and I'm like, oh man, like dang, like they wasted Michael totally, man, because now we're not going to see him in the next film. I don't know if I thought he was going to get arrested, but as we saw later in the film, he clearly escaped, and he might show up at another movie. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, so after the toy animatronics and Mike get dealt with, the Golden Freddy spirit looks at Mike and says, Mike, listen, we're going to move on for real this time, but I just want to let you know that we can no longer hold him back anymore. And Mike's like, hold who back? What are you talking about? And we obviously know that he's talking about William Afton. They've been holding back William Afton's spirit all this time so that he wouldn't possess the spring Bonnie suit. I thought this part of the movie, alright guys, if I were to tell you the best part of the third act of the film, I think it's this one. Because it sets up probably the best villain in the movie franchise. It's probably gonna set up the best villain in the movie franchise. I really like this. So the cryptic nature of it, when Mike says, who? Hold who back? Who's gonna come back? Who's gonna come back stronger? The Golden Freddy spirit just disappears. I really like that. So yeah, that's my opinion on the film personally. Alright, so I talked about the first act, the second act, and the third act of the film. But well, actually, before I get to the end part of this video, I just want to say that spoilers for those of you who didn't stay around for the post-credit scene. William Afton is back. William Afton's back. The people who are obviously working for the Fazbear's Fright Horror attraction or whatever spooky haunted house they're working for, found the old Freddy's location from the first movie, and they ended up finding William Afton's body. And of course, this is where we see our very first version of live-action Springtrap. This is really awesome. I like this. They set this up wonderfully at the end of the film. While I'm not a fan of the "We Are FNAF" ending, I really love how, like I said, I told you that Golden Freddy spirit part was cold. That sent chills down my spine. And this post-credit scene really sealed the deal. I hope the third film genuinely takes the writing seriously, and I hope that I hope they correct the wrongs of the second film, because the second film, I think, in my opinion, if you want my opinion, I think the first film was better than the second film. Hot take. I'm sorry. I just think the first film was better. Now that I've wrapped up the entire story of this movie and told you my general thoughts, let's go through the pros, the cons, and let me tell you my rating on this film personally. The pros. I really loved how the first part of this film really showed how far the characters have come. I love how they portrayed Vanessa's struggles. I loved how they portrayed how Mike genuinely appreciates his sister, and I really love how they represented Abby thinking about friends that meant a lot to her. I really liked that. Like, if there are any pros I could give this movie, it's showing that they can actually progress the characters and show that these characters actually have depth. Another pro, Henry Emily. Henry is a very major character in the franchise, and I really love how they written him in this movie. He's a very tragic character in both in the games and in the films, and I really love how they took what FNAF 6 showed us of Henry's character and brought it into live action. Skeet Ulrich, once again, thank you for your portrayal. You did great, and I'm glad that you got to reunite with Matthew Lillard once and for all. Dude, that was awesome. As far as the pros, that's all I have for it. Oh yeah, another pro. the scares in this movie were definitely ramped up compared to the first movie. I feel like the animatronics were a lot scarier in this film. I really like the horror aspect of this film was great. I loved it. It was awesome. Like, you know, like the first movie just wasn't that scary to me. It really wasn't. But the second movie genuinely got some jumps out of me. And even after watching the film for like, you know, multiple times over, there are still some parts of the film that I genuinely find unnerving in a way. And I think this movie, their visuals, you know what? The scare factor, that's another pro, but another pro I want to talk about are the visuals. The animatronics look great. The animatronic designs look great. I love the animatronics and how they look. They look like they were ripped straight from the games, but they have attributes that make them different from the actual game models that exist in the original Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. And the last pro that I could give this movie is the build up to the third installment in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie franchise. Despite this movie having its low points in terms of writing, I think the way they set up Springtrap for the third film was pretty good. You know, the children holding back William from possessing the suit and becoming stronger than he was before is such a great plot point that I feel like was consistent throughout the whole movie because they didn't bother with it. That's one thing they didn't touch in the movie, and I like that because what else can you do? There's so much other crap going on. Why would you want to go back to a plot point that has been concluded? I like that. Even though they brought those poor kids back at the very end of the film for the "We Are FNAF" ending, I think the whole story of them holding back William the entire film was pretty good. And they make that very clear at the very end before they passed on into the afterlife. I like that a lot. So if there's anything else I could give this movie credit for, it's for showing how serious the coming of Springtrap is for the third film. Pause. So to start off the cons, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is the character writing. Specifically, Vanessa. Vanessa is... Now, while Michael's character definitely stayed consistent throughout the film and actually showed lots of signs of development, Vanessa's character was just static the whole time. Like, well, not the whole time. The first part of the film was actually really good because it was really showing how she was trying to get through the struggles of what her father put onto her. You know, like the trauma, the PTSD, that was portrayed so well. And you would think with her trying to get through that, she would also work on being more honest with Michael. Because, dude, Mike means a lot to her. That's a potential love interest right there. So it's like, brother, you could see small hints of that, but it's like, brother, you could tell even then they are still good friends. A relationship is being established here. And, dude, like, from how things were looking at the beginning of the movie, I thought the character was only going to go out from there, but no, her character stayed constant. She kept lying to Mike. She kept hiding things from Mike. So why would she hide that she has a homicidal brother who is exactly like the person that traumatized her entire life? Why would she leave that out? Especially since he literally ended up coming back doing almost as much harm as William did. What the hell are we doing? Vanessa's character had so much potential, but they just completely derailed it. And that fumble was just awful. And then there were characters like Abby who are just used as plot devices. Like the way Abby wasn't badly written in this movie at all. It's the way they went about it. Actually, you know what? No. Abby was just used as a bad plot device to continue the second act of the film. Let's talk about Charlotte. Charlotte is such an awfully written antagonist she has a very poor motivation. Kill all adults because the adults ignore me before I died. You got stabbed 5 times in the back by a serial killer. Oh my gosh, that's so funny to me. She's mad at the adults for ignoring her when the very sole reason why she even put her life on the line to save a kid, the very reason why she had to put her life on the line to save a kid is not the sole reason, is not the person she's mad at right now. Like, in the game, she was vengeful towards William, but she still wanted to help the other souls that she ended up finding around the location. Like, she wasn't on the hunt for everyone else like how the other animatronics were. You know, even in Ultimate Custom Night, Charlotte goes to comment that the others are like animals. You know, like the others are basically like animals. Like they have very poor sense of judgment. They don't know who to not kill. They kill anyone they see. They are so vengeful, they're willing to kill anyone that comes across their path. That's why they even killed Phone Guy in the first FNAF game. Phone Guy isn't William Afton. They're just killing anyone they get their hands on because they are angry spirits, willing to exact vengeance, willing to exact suffering on anyone they get their hands on. Adults, even as far as the second game goes, like the Souls, they attack any adult figure because the last time they trusted an adult, it got them killed. So in the movies, why did they have it that Charlie was just hating all adults, everyone except for the guy that killed her? That made no sense. In the first movie, like the Souls literally felt so vengeful towards William when they remembered what happened. Why do you change that with Charlie? I just don't like that. The character writing in this movie just, ooh man. Charlotte was definitely a big fumble. Charlotte was such a big fumble. That was such a major character, and they totally got her character wrong. Like I said, the first part of the movie is my favorite part of the movie because it was such a solid start. The way they wrote Charlotte, her protecting other children, her putting her life on the line for other children, very in character. But when she possessed the puppet, they abandoned all of it. They said, now she's possessing the puppet, abandon all of it. So anyway, as far as character writing goes, that's my gripe. Those are my gripes. For the second con is the story. The story of this movie was so all over the place. The story of this movie was so all over the place because it's like we have the plot of Michael unleashing Charlotte, Michael Afton unleashing Charlotte, and then he does nothing for the entire film just to show up at the end to go like, hey man, I was behind it all. And it's like, okay, so the story of this film is someone who haunts the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location has returned and is now wreaking havoc on the people, you know, who ignored her back when she was alive. And, you know, Mike and Vanessa are trying to stop her. You know, she's trying to take control of Abby. She's trying to take control of a human vessel to exact her plans. And apparently Michael Afton was trying to lead a massacre by using the toy animatronics as a way to infiltrate the Faz Fest celebration and to kill multiple people. I think when you say the story like that is simple, but the way they went about it in the movie, oh man, they were just all over the place. Man. Because the characters that were supposedly important to the plot. So Charlotte was supposed to be the main antagonist, really. The main antagonist that was like driving the plot forward, right? They didn't write her correctly. Not only did they not write her correctly, but the plot was progressing so fast. The pacing. That's what the con really here is, just the pacing. I think the story's premise is decent. I think the pacing was just awful. Because the way they forced everything to happen in the middle part of the film, and then the way they had the original animatronics show up at the end to fight the toy animatronics was just so... oh man. And then I just wow. Like, they had a good plot. How they went about it was just not okay, in my opinion. I hope I was concise with that, but anyway. The last con I want to talk about is how the fact that it's not a good adaptation. It's not a good adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 at all. It's already enough that this Five Nights at Freddy's 2 isn't a prequel, but to make the toy animatronics not possessed is just so weird to me. Well, it's not bad because, you know, even though they're possessed in the games, there is an approach in the games they could have taken where, you know, so basically in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the game, you know, someone tampered with their facial recognition scanners that can protect predators, you know, so they can catch predators in the Freddy's locations. I think that was pretty cool. So, you know, with them being tampered with in the games, I can see a story where their tampered facial recognition scanners are the reason why they attack the night guard in the main gameplay. Of course, that's not the reason. They are actually possessed by 5 other children that were killed in that 1987 location, but the movies could have done something with that and actually have them malfunctioning animatronics that were just attacking people they thought were predators, you know, because their AI was tampered with. But no, they are goons. The puppet The puppet, they are goons of the puppet. And it's like, okay, I actually like the idea of the puppet controlling them. You know that? I actually like that idea, but how they went about it was just not okay because... Okay, so, riddle me this, right? So you're telling me that you had such a good premise where the puppet is controlling the toy animatronics, but you made them the originals? Why did you do that? The toy animatronics, the whole sole purpose of the toy animatronics is that they are new animatronics. They are new versions of the OGs. You know what I mean? You can't make them the originals. That's so wrong. If you weren't gonna make Five Nights at Freddy's 2 a prequel, you could have at least made, the toy animatronics or all the animatronics stay true to their origins. Have the withered animatronics be the original. The original animatronics have such a tragic story. The withered animatronics have such a tragic story. And when we see who they are in FNAF 2, we sympathize with their characters more by the events, when we see them in FNAF 1. Like, that's what made FNAF 2 such a solid prequel in the games. Like, we understand that those old animatronics have been there for a long time, and they're not right in the head. Those vengeful spirits are not only vengeful for the because of how they died and what happened to them, but it's because they have been trapped in those things for a long time. You don't get that feeling with the movie Withered Animatronics. The Withered Animatronics in the movies are not only somehow prototypes of the toy animatronics, but they are also just goons. This movie is not a good adaptation, man. They changed the puppet. They changed the puppet's story. They changed the puppet's motivation in such an unfaithful manner. The withered animatronics, not only do they get small screen time, but their concept is completely ruined. And the toy animatronics they're just there. They're pawns. I mean, in terms of animatronics, they are the best. But, oh dear. I say the most faithful this movie was. I gotta say the most faithful this movie has ever been was with the locations and the layouts, because they were very faithful to their in-game incarnations. They were very faithful. I think the FNAF 2 location was just so well made, and it's like, wow, I actually loved that moment. That was actually really cool to see, especially in the trailer for the first time. That was nuts. But anyway, those are my cons. The character writing, the pacing, and how this movie it's not a good adaptation. It's not a good adaptation. Not only do they go against the source material, but also this movie was badly paced, and the writing just wasn't all that. So yeah, if I were to rate this movie, I give it a 5.3 out of 10. I give it a 5.3 out of 10 because this movie has a lot going for it. It has a lot of potential, and I enjoyed it. Enjoying it as a movie, I'll give it an 11 out of 10 because I'm a FNAF fan, and this movie has definitely pulled my heartstrings in all the right ways, all the way down to Springtrap's reveal at the end of the movie. As a movie, enjoying it not enjoying it as a movie, but rating this movie as a movie, let me give you a 5 out of 10. A 5.4 out of 10. This movie, the writing drags this movie down so much, the pacing drags this movie down so much, and this movie does not obey its source material good enough for me to go like, yeah, this is FNAF 2. This is FNAF 2. With the things they changed, they didn't make what they had good. You know what I mean? Like, if you were gonna make Michael Afton a villain, can you show us more of his villain motivations and not have him pop up at the end of the movie? Can y'all not repeat the first mistake y'all made with William Afton in the first movie? Instead of having Charlotte hate all adults, can she see adults as an obstacle in her way as she pursues William Afton or pursues anything else? Like, I just, could you have allowed Abby to naturally run into the location as she desperately tries to go find the location that has her friends? Could you have had Vanessa genuinely learn from her mistakes and grow as a character and help her, and allow her to genuinely progress with Mike instead of having her stay in one spot for the sake of the plot progressing? So many questions I have to ask about this movie that I wish I didn't have to ask. I love this movie. I will always love this movie. I've watched this movie 3 times over for this review. I will watch it 5 times over again. But man, the controversy surrounding this movie, you know, like, let me tell you something. Review's over. This is Tay talking. I think when I finished watching this movie, I opened my phone and I saw so much hate surrounding this movie. And I gotta say, this movie does not deserve any hate, man. Like, when you enjoy a movie as much as I did, the last thing you want to see is people hating on it. Like, it's bad, it's terrible. If you think this movie is good, you're terrible. But one thing you have to understand is that just because you enjoyed a movie, it doesn't mean it's good. This movie isn't a bad movie. This is the most movie of all time, is what I'll say. This is the most movie of all time. It's no Morbius, it's no Madam Web, it's no Kraven the Hunter, it's no what's another pretty bad film? Okay, this isn't Morbius levels of bad. This is The Amazing Spider-Man 2 levels of bad. You know what I mean? Like, this is like I want to call this a good film, but it's just, no, I have to admit, it has flaws. Lots of them. It has lots of flaws. So, yeah, this movie definitely has its flaws, and I hope the third movie is better. But, you know, when people say this movie sucks, I can understand where they're coming from, but I'm not going to say the movie sucks. You know what I mean? I can understand where their hate is coming from, because you know, there's a difference between people who are just making fun of this movie to be douchebags, and the people who genuinely love this franchise and just wishes this movie was as good as it should have been. Huge difference. And I wish this movie was better. Because, like I said, when I say the first movie is better, I mean that. I stand on that. The first movie was so great in a lot of ways. They explored really amazing themes. And while the weakest part of the first film was the villain, they didn't show him until the very end of the film. Outside of that, the movie had decent pacing, and I really liked it. It wasn't bad. That movie was actually well structured, despite it being smaller in terms of lore. This movie crams so much into it that when you try to have a good premise and you just try to force everything to progress the way this movie did, it kind of ruins the potential the great premise had. You can only appreciate the better written parts of this movie. That's about it. So yeah. I wish this movie was better, but I enjoyed it. I don't like the critique that this movie was made for the fans, because people try to use it. This is another part where the hate comes from. People try to say that this movie was made for the fans as a way to deflect any form of criticism, as if there are people who aren't fans that still want to watch this movie. You guys do know we aren't the only ones who watch movies, right? Guys, if the movie is terrible, if the movie is bad, if the movie is good, if the movie is terrible, that's what the movie is. How you feel about the movie, how you enjoyed the movie will not change that. Everyone has their own opinion. But when you objectively criticize the movie and how it's presented, that's how the movie is. You're not trying to rag on the movie and trying to ruin things for the people enjoying it. You're genuinely criticizing the movie for its genuine flaws. So think twice before you say it's for the fans. It's for the fans, but you have to consider that other people want to watch this movie too. This is some people's introduction to this franchise. So it's like, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. I hope this review wasn't too long. I'm gonna give you my rating again. In terms of enjoyment, 12 out of 10. I enjoyed this movie so much, my heart was jumping out of my body. As a movie. That's my phone. As a movie, 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 for me. 5 out of 10. My phone stay vibrant. Hey, yo, dog. I'm shutting this off. But anyway, that's my review, guys, on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. If you guys want me to review the first film too, I will. It probably won't be as long, but I will review the first film as well if you want me to. And yeah, so guys, I will see you later. This was a very interesting video. I am not a movie reviewer typically. I just want to review this movie because this movie means a lot to me. I mean, I'll even review the Sonic movies too. But yeah. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you very much, and please take care of yourselves, as always.